Today on The Necessary Entrepreneur, we welcome Les Fultz. Les is the visionary founder of Valere Event and Video Production, a dynamic company at the forefront of event planning and multimedia production located right here in Cincinnati. Valere Event and Video Productions stands out for its commitment to excellence and innovation. Les and his team specialize in curating immersive experiences that leave a lasting impression, blending cutting-edge technology with impeccable design to bring clients' visions to life. Through Valere, Les has cultivated a reputation for delivering exceptional results and exceeding expectations in the competitive world of event management and video production. During our conversation, Les and I delve into his entrepreneurial journey, exploring the intersection of creativity, business, and client-centric service. We also talk about when he started following his passion with only a cheap camera, a $2 bill in his pocket, and a dream. Discover Les's insights on building a successful event and video production company, navigating industry challenges, and embracing innovation in today's entrepreneurial landscape. Stick around as Les talks about creating authentic content, his passion for storytelling, and his unwavering dedication to pushing the boundaries of event design and multimedia production. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Be sure to give us that like and subscribe. You can find out more about Les on social media at valerestudios.com. It's VALERE studios.com. Just like anything in life, I'm pumped to talk to you today because I think your story of being an entrepreneur isn't unlike most. It's similar to ours and mine. And that story is you make a decision, you take action, and you just keep going. And then as you keep going, you learn.
Yeah.
And this is our, I think, second or third iteration of a studio. And it's not our best.
I'm on 3.9 right now. So
right? Yeah.
No
So
worries.
the reason why it's not our best is because our best hasn't come yet.
Mm-hmm. That's a good way of putting that.
It's just the attitude in life as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
We can pause and appreciate the things that we've accomplished, the successes that we've had. But if you stay there too long in that success, somebody's going to pass you by.
Mm-hmm.
Things evolve, right? Technology happens.
Yep.
And
I'm experiencing that right now. You know, through the COVID years, it was a boom for us because of the live stream and the technology. But that a lot of people have gone back to in-person events, or the folks that experienced those virtual things had a bad experience and it cost them a ton of money, and then they're not coming back to it. But the people that found value in it are coming back. So, but I saw a huge, I'm talking six figures, difference in our business last year from not doing as much live and virtual content. So talk about being nimble. You're right. You have to kind of evolve where the market needs are,
Yep.
and so that's in the video business, in the visually creative space, it's an ever evolving world.
So tell us what Valere Studios is, the idea, the passion behind it. Because this story goes back, we'll talk about the story. The story goes back early in 2008. There's a lot of things that start happening in your world and your life. You're an employee, not unlike me.
Yep.
Not making a bunch of bucks. You have these names called assistant and right.
Yep.
All these things that we can attribute to not doing big things within a business.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you go from 2008 being that less.
Yep.
To this person sitting in front of me today in 2024.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing. I had no idea that I could work for the makers of Lysol all the way, just this evolution. If you told me I'd be broadcasting on Morning Joe or, Fox Business or something like that, or I'd have Ari Fleischer in my studio, I would laugh hysterically, and so we've actually done work for major telecoms, and so that's to go where I was to where I am now. You're right. It's been an incredible journey. Where did the passion come from? So I owned a cleaning business. I worked for a cleaning company locally in 2008, 2009. Then 2010, they laid me off. And it was the end of 2009. They laid me off, and I said, okay, well, I'm going to start my own cleaning business. And so I did, and video and digital content was really the foundation of that whole thing. It was like that's where my passion was. It was using digital assets to help attract and retain customers. And I started doing these goofy little YouTube videos, but what it did, it grew my network. Every little video that it developed relationships with people that I still have friendships with today, all 15 years later. And so it turns out I hired this amazing guy named Eddie, and he's the fourth generation carpet cleaner in his family. Like his great grandpa or something like that was scrubbing rugs in the late 1800s, something like that. And so the gene, it was in his genes. So I said, God, this is just the guy that's supposed to do this while I pursue digital marketing full time. And so talk about being an entrepreneur. I came up with this wild and crazy idea to call this business How He Done It, and so there was this character I created, and I wanted to show people how he done it, and so how to start, bootstrap a business, use digital means to help grow an audience, and then bring in customers, and so on and so forth. Well, that was a huge mistake. Huge mistake.
Welcome to the world of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
So let's pick that back up in a second. But when you say, so we'll get back to the huge mistakes, because isn't that how we learn?
Yep.
All right. You said bootstrap it.
Yeah.
What's that mean?
Bootstrapping, that means no money. You start from $1. For me, it was a $2 bill. I had a camera in my hand and a $2 bill. And that $2 bill is still with me. It's at my house right now, but
I keep the same.
No, I keep it out for inspiration. And no, I touch this thing. I don't want to put it in a frame. Like I have that connection to something physical, and so I never forget standing on the street with a camera in my hand, and my wallet was empty. My bank accounts were overdrawn. I had a $2 bill in my pocket.
It was a $150 Canon power shot too. Is
that
the camera?
Yep. You guys read the story on my website. Yep.
Is that well, we've only just begun.
$150.
See what else we dig up.
Canon, $150 Canon power shot. Yeah.
So does that sit beside the $2 bill? Please tell me you didn't throw the Canon away.
No, I still have the.
Do you have the memory card? Do you have all that stuff?
I don't have the memory cards, but I still have the camera. It's a good reminder of where you started. Where you came from. And so you go from a $2 bill and a $150 camera to now, what we've done over the last 5-6 years.
The head shakes like wild, isn't it? All those thoughts that have gone through your head, that's a revenue thought, isn't it? Like from $2 to that, and that's huge numbers.
Yeah. I mean, running a business is very costly. You definitely need the sales and the revenue to cover the expense and make a profit. But
so back to the part of the story, that was a big mistake.
Big mistake. Oh, well, I wouldn't call it a mistake. It was just a very difficult business. I had this thought that, I would be well received as a digital content creator. But everyone knew me as a floor cleaner. So the transition from Les owned a cleaning business to here we are. Okay, now let me manage your website or tell your story or use social media. It was just so hard of a shift that my network did not accept it very well. And so the path to obtaining a customer was 6 months, 8 months, something like that. And it was just exhausting. I ran out of cash very quickly, was completely broke. And
you know how I know you weren't completely broke?
Okay.
Because you still have the $2 bill.
Oh, yeah. Well, I said $2 bill. Yeah. Yes. Not, if I wanted to waste it, I could have got a coffee, or something like that. So
6 to 8 months, man, you're going broke.
Yeah. Yeah. It was not long. It was not long after liquidating and moving on. I just wanted to exit that business. It was not a profitable sale. It was just, I need to shift. I need to change gears. And so, that business is still thriving today, and I'm so blessed that opportunity is there for Ed. And so that's something that I respect dearly, that he took the reins and performed better than I could. And so that's the greatest blessing. But yeah, it was like, okay, what do I do? You're back now. Well, that was short lived. I got out, and this is a big flop. And so I just got that day with the $2 bill. I was at the Incline Theater with a Broadway star. His name is Aaron Labanay. He toured on Rent. He was Jesus Christ and Andrew Lloyd Webber's 50th anniversary of the Jesus Christ Superstar. He was Spider-Man on Broadway. You know, we went to high school together at LaSalle, and Catholic high school in Cincinnati's West Side. And so anyways, I filmed this video of Aaron singing a cover song inside the theater, and the cameras were all overshot. Everything was a disaster when I got this thing, but I had never really learned how to edit. So I took that content and I hunkered down and I bought the Premiere thing and I did this, and I just sat in my office and just created content. And I took crappy over, you know, 2 of the cameras were overshot. One was looking pretty good, but there were 3 different types of cameras, and anybody on your crew here knows that you got to use the same cameras, or the picture's just off a little bit. And so I just took that time to learn the software, to learn. And then I realized an editor is a problem solver. You know, we're a creator, but it's also the editing process is solving problems, because you're always going to get something that doesn't flow right. And so you got to think outside the box to kind of come up with something that wows an audience. And so it's kind of cool. That's when I really just jumped into editing, was that moment. So the $2 bill, Aaron, I had a Broadway star on my camera
with terrible video,
horrible video, great audio,
yeah,
because the house recorded the audio. And so I had great audio, horrible video. And so that was my first chance at jumping into Premiere Pro, which is a very difficult program if you just open it up for the first time. But yeah, that started a path that hasn't stopped. And
so when you opened up Premiere, were these things, you talk about being a problem solver?
Yeah.
A good editor's a good problem solver.
Yep.
Okay. Were you naturally already a problem solver? Did you know that about yourself? Or when you attempted to do it, those ability and that mindset just showed up?
Well, I had already had a pretty good understanding of how videos were to come together, you know, because we had already been shooting different types of things. I actually paid someone to create my videos for me. Like, I wasn't, because I was still like the website developer, digital content strategist guy, consultant. I didn't really jump into that, but it took a moment where a client said, I said, well, give me some feedback. What is working for you? What isn't working? She goes, Les, the video is all I hear about from our clients. That's all they talk about. And so that's really all I needed to hear.
You solved the problem.
Yes. So out of all the noise, you know, there's so many web developers out there, there's so many people claiming to do social media. Well, video was the catalyst. And so that's what I said, that's it. I'm going to change my name. I'm going to rebrand myself from this Howie Dunnett character and just get rid of that entirely. That was 2 years. And then jump full swing into video content, which is a whole nother layer of crazy insanity. You know, everybody from their iPhone all the way up to cinema cameras, you know, there's no real solid ground in the video production world either, you know, so, but at least I had something to zero in on. It was more palatable for people to see what the product was. And so that became the focus, instead of like, hey, I do this. No, we do video. The core of our business is video. There's many different applications for that, but the core is video.
Well, you talked about Premiere. Those people that know it, it's an Adobe program that just it's wide.
Yeah.
Right. It's big and wide. I mean, Jack is working in it all the time. Shelby's working in it.
Yep.
What caused you to get started when you open something up and it's so big? That's overwhelming. That idea is overwhelming to a lot of people with starting something.
I think internally, I'm wired differently. Like, I look at challenges like that, and it's kind of like a driver internally. Like, I see this problem in front of me. What do I need to do to figure it out? And which this can be costly, because I have this problem in just about every area of my business and life. Like, I don't stop. I use any and all resources to reach this particular goal, regardless of how much it costs or how much time. Like, and even if it's a huge failure at the end of it, I gotta see it through. You know, like I gotta go all the way. So I just jumped right in and did self-taught, watched a lot of YouTube videos, and the pieces started falling together. And so,
see, I go back, like, what I'm interested in, what so many people listening to this need to hear too, is how you became that person. Because that you just described over 30 or 40 seconds, that's a person that you set a path, you set an outcome in advance, and you don't stop until you achieve it.
yeah.
regardless of expense, regardless of time, regardless of commitment that it takes,
Yep.
right? You set it and you make sure you don't stop until you achieve it.
Yep.
Is that the 15-year-old Les that starts becoming that? Is that the 12-year-old? Is that the 17? Because that's not specific to a video editor, to a video producer, to a studio owner.
Yeah. I guess where this crazy drive came from, that's tough. I guess it's a culmination of life experiences, really, from growing up, high school, just this drive or creativity. I could go way back and share times when I sat in front of the sixth grade, class to do news reporting, and I've always had this idea that I wanted to be in broadcasting, like I toured Saturday Night Live studios when I was in high school, so you see this experience, and what you see on TV is nothing like the real place. It's a very small format, not areas much larger than this studio. Are they producing those scenes, and people are sitting stacked on top of each other in this place. It was an old radio broadcast. In fact, it was called the Kraft Television Theater back in the 40s and 50s. It was like they were cutting edge. But originally it was a radio broadcast room where the NBC orchestra would play. And so this was a big orchestra hall for a radio broadcast. So they would have microphones and stuff like that. Then it transitioned over to the Kraft Television Theater, which, if we think about where we're at today with digital content, that's sponsored content, it was like, and they have the little like puppet, and they got a little puppet on the camera, like there's no graphics. It's just physical items moving around, this crazy thing. But James Dean, that's where he got his big publicity, was in the Kraft Television Theater. And so and then as that faded away, hence Saturday Night Live took over that space. It's a very famous studio in Rockefeller Center. And so just learning about that became very interesting to me. That always sat in the back of my head. I said, well, we could create a space that helped people broadcast. And so that's where the whole studio part came from. But I've always had this creative drive. I was in drama in high school and, on the tech team or stage crew, so it's always kind of been ingrained with me. Back in high school, we would cut pictures of things for t-shirts, and it would go onto a Xerox, like that's how you sent it to the t-shirt printer, was a piece of paper. It's just very interesting how the world has evolved with digital content. But I've always had my hand in something creative, it's or if an electronic failed or something when I was younger, I always had to take it apart to figure out all the moving parts or all the pieces. Same thing with this broadcast stuff. And I think the most in terms of Valere and our transition right at the beginning of the pandemic is when ABC News sent me an email, and they wanted to know the technology at the studio and whether or not I could broadcast someone on live television. And I thought it was a joke. I thought it was somebody trying to scam my bank account. You get this bizarre email, you're like, this can't be real, but then I'm like, ABC. I'm like, this is very interesting. And so I called and I did a little bit of research, and I said, I wonder if I can pull this off, legitimately, I wonder if I can pull this off. And so I talked to them, and while they were asking things, I'm Googling at the same time. Like, I'm trying to learn what they're talking about. Do I have the IFB? Do I have this? What's my transmission? Can I do Skype? I'm figuring all this stuff out. Literally, kind of BS my way through that call. And now that this is public, well, ABC.
There's a lot of gray area in life, Les.
It's okay. I put this story out there anyway. So I said, total BS my way. I literally had a laptop connected to Skype with a HDMI cable, gaff tape, like in the studio, but we had a red camera on the talent that was being broadcast to George Stephanopoulos. So we had camera, audio, and we were live streaming to ABC News. It was the craziest thing. It was right before Trump, the 2020 election or whatever. And just an amazing experience. And so that was a pivotal moment was that I said, if I could broadcast to live television from my studio. How can I help the local businesses broadcast their message? And that was
That's the unlock.
a huge change in the way that I thought about the business, about the product. And so that became the way that we invested in the studio and the space and integrated all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about, if we're talking 2020, that's 12 years of work from 2008 to these ideas came, and you created a Facebook page and making videos about your cleaning business, and then handed it off to Eddie and had this idea that didn't work out great, all the iterations. And then you get a random email, but that email arrived because of some things you had done.
Yeah,
right?
Just our presence and getting our
Yep.
our presence out there.
Yep. That's a long walk from the guy that nobody wanted to hire because all they knew you as is a cleaning guy.
Yep. Well, I guess for whoever's listening and you're starting your own business, the thing you need to focus on is one small step at a time. Like you cannot start day one and leap into success. Just like you're saying, overnight success. Yeah, it's 10 years to become an overnight success. And that is so true. That is the most honest statement, because you cannot jump in, take a giant leap. They're one step at a time. So it's one incremental win at a time. I had a mentor. I have a mentor. He's a great friend from high school. He works in LA, and every time I published a video, he sent me a Facebook message saying, "You idiot, you idiot. What are you doing? Don't do this. Don't do that. Don't do that." And while that was hard critiques, it helped me improve the product. And, this is a guy that has worked with Kevin Hart and has worked with Activision and, big names. And now, what's his name? Lawrence, what's his name? Lawrence Fishburne, comes to his studio now, like just the guy's awesome. So I have great respect for John. And, but that helped me. It was just one little win at a time. So you can't be defeated if you're not seeing the immediate result. You have to you have to hang in there. I think the hardest thing for me to learn over the years is patience. You have to have patience. Because not every opportunity is going to come, but when they do come, it's the right time.
What about when you're having those failures? What causes you to have faith that you're going to arrive at the outcome that you want? Why do you keep going?
Well, I think it's the way we treat people. I think it's our establishment or the relationships that we have. When we're faced with a challenge or a barrier or an obstacle, we just default to, hey, we've established a good reputation. We have a great product, and, the clients that we serve appreciate what we do. And so if you put the experience over the product or money, if you focus on delivering a good experience for people, that's what people remember, because there's plenty of folks with the camera out there. It's how you treat people and the experience that you create. And then, there is follow-up. People do spend money on these projects. There needs to be a level of expectations after these projects are done. But most of the time, it's about relationships. And so when we're faced with an obstacle or a barrier, we just, we know that there's a new opportunity that's going to come the next day or the following day, or something's going to end up in my email, and it's a whole new world, or it's a whole new adventure.
So tell us about the studio up in Cincinnati.
Okay, the studio is in Reading, just literally a quarter of a mile outside of city limits, and so it's just 10 minutes north of downtown. But the studio, like you said, you had many iterations of your own studio. Same here. We're on this studio 3.9, 3 locations and version 9. But at the end of October 22, we had fully integrated the space with 12 input switcher. We've got video routing, 16 or 32 channel rack mount audio board. And so we have produced major virtual broadcasts in there. In fact, Julie O'Neill was in your studio. Mm-hmm. And so she was at my studio twice. And so she broadcast on behalf of, she hosted a show for Alta Fiber. We did 2 consecutive years in a row, and major multi-camera broadcasts where you have the entire C-suite executive team, 8 folks in a panel discussion, talk show format, 2 different scenes. So we have a sound stage that's about 1,000 square feet. We've treated the space with sound treatments and stuff like that. It's not soundproof, but it's pretty darn good for a virtual broadcast. And then we have a full master control room. So all that switching, prompter, graphics machine, encoder, remote guests. So we're fully just like a television station for the internet. And so by the time I spent all this money, by the time I built all this out, the need for virtual stuff basically just flatlined. It fell out of the market. And so I'm constantly trying to reinvent what we're doing because nobody is hiring us for the virtual stuff. It's a very limited audience right now, or need in the market. And the studio is used, but it's not at the volume the last 2
that you had planned.
Yeah.
So when things went virtual, these big thought leaders like a Tony Robbins, he went from having these huge events overnight from 10,000 people to then he was the first one that I saw that had these video boards with everyone's picture that was attending virtually.
Yep.
Was he the first to do something big like that, or had that happened? Did
Well,
COVID cause this? I guess that's a question.
Well, people have been doing live streaming for a long time. Now, Studio 1.0 back in 2016, 2017, I was marketing that as a live streaming studio. But the need wasn't there. People didn't have the business application for it, so they didn't have the budget for it, nor did they understand its use. And so I was just thinking outside the box. I started doing live music, which was another disaster because artists and musicians, they just don't have money. You can't have a 5-person crew engineer a live broadcast for musicians, and they don't have $5,000 for a 41-hour broadcast. So that was a challenge too. So there were companies doing live content before the COVID wave. What happened during the pandemic was, we see the use for this now. And so now we have a better way to communicate. Now we have a better way to share our story. The most successful virtual engagements in the business world include a way to gather information. If you can make the people at home feel like they are participating in the event, that's when you have the greatest success. When people feel like they have a choice in the outcome, their voice is being heard, then there's an incredible layer of engagement that you cannot get at an in-person event. You cannot curate that one-on-one direct experience with people at an in-person event. In an in-person event, people are distracted. Maybe they had too much booze the prior night before, The
person sitting next to him is distracting them, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that person had too many booze.
Yeah. And so you don't have as much feedback in the audience as you would at, say, a virtual event. And then you could curate the event all around those responses and that engagement. So if done right with the right partners, it's the greatest investment. When you go and do these big events at hotels, it's $500,000 for these companies or more. Like AV contracts alone are in the 6 figures or $200,000 to hang lights and put some screens up, And
versus doing the same event virtually. What's that cost? If it's a $500,000 project in a hotel environment, what's that supporting the same amount of people coming in virtually? What's that cost?
You could do it for a quarter,
$125K.
Yeah. I mean, with all the creative, and all that stuff, the studio set, you could do elaborate set design. You could prepare all that. And that's at the high end. You can do stuff for $25,000, $45,000. There's a good point of entry there for a fabulous virtual program. But yeah, you're not going to be spending the hundreds of thousands of dollars, the hotel, all that food and all that stuff.
The resources, everything.
Yeah. So why wouldn't you want to get that type of information or feedback from people in such a fast turnaround? Instead of spending 6 months, you could spend 6 weeks planning an event.
So what's the argument? What's the retort to that? If it's gone back to in-person events?
I think there's a lot of people that do virtual events really well. There's also a lot of folks that do it very poorly. And so if these companies had spent the money on virtual and didn't get the impact, they're never going to revisit this again. You know, it was often a very complicated, complex process. And so that's been a differentiator for us over the last 5-6 years, is we make the process simple. It's not, we don't complicate things. We speed things up. I'll never forget, I'll leave the client out of it, just because it's NDA, but there were a side-by-side comparison with virtual content. One was an agency-driven, which technically you could consider me an agency, but agency-driven project, took 6 months to orchestrate. It was a huge failure. We put a similar program together under 30 days, eliminated all the red tape, produced a high-profile program, and the results were out of this world. And so there's a big difference out there, because some of these agencies just see these clients as cash registers, you know, and so
they're going to come back in all the time. They're on my budget line for every quarter.
Well, I'm going to charge this much because I know they can pay, not because I'm providing the adequate value. It's just because I know that they can pay. They're used to paying this amount, whether or not I've put the right service, product, or thing in there. You know, I've always been a disruptor in the space because we move faster than most. And so, you know, I don't think I have any enemies in the creative space here locally, but sometimes we move a lot faster, bring product a lot faster to market, and that's seen as a threat from your competition.
Why and how do you do that? So why do you do it, and then how do you do it?
Well, I guess that's part of my gift, is the ability to oversee projects like that, project management, understanding what it takes as a role as a producer, is managing all of those intricate pieces. And so I guess it's an uncanny gift that I've had, is just bringing that entrepreneurial mindset into the world of video production. You know, like, move fast and quick. Like, companies can't wait. You know, your message can't wait. You know, your product is evolving fast. If I shoot something and it takes 6 months, by then 6 months later, your business may have evolved in those 6 months, you know? And so we just bring things, we have a process that makes the client, it lays clear expectations. So we speed up the pre-production process and the post-production. Like, we shoot for what the product is supposed to look like. And so by the time it gets to the editor, it's already very well packaged up. And, you know, I've done a good job of recruiting top talent in the post-production process. And so, you know, I use my talents ahead, communicating with the client and speeding up these projects for a fast delivery.
What, if you take an average small business, doesn't matter the category, what makes the best video outcome? When I ask that question, is there one or two things that just trip off? It's like this.
Well, here, it doesn't matter the size of the company. It's just like what I said before. It's about relationships. So you're attempting to form a bond with your client with video. If you're just trying to sell something, they see that as selling. So if you are explaining what you do and the reason behind what you do, like your unique value proposition, maybe you explain why you're in the business, or you know, what the product's impact can have for someone, or something like that. You know, TikToks and funny videos are great, viral content's great, but it does less for building that relationship. You know, something funny or interesting is great. You could get some brand exposure out of that, but really the common theme is how do you establish a relationship with your clients? Like, if it's 2024, you have a website and you don't have video on the front part of your website, you're missing the boat. You may as well just turn the website off, you know, because you need a way to engage with that person that lands on that website, and text alone isn't good enough anymore. You know, like, you need a way to visually engage the folks there, because that's what can separate you from your competition. Because if you have 15 competitors in the same space and your website creates this engaging process, and then you go to a static impression, okay, yeah, we still sell the widgets, but there's nothing there really communicating to that customer. Video is the best way to do it.
Are we talking about telling our story?
Yeah. telling your story, getting people to connect with you, connect with the product through a person. It's not just the brand or the mark. The mark, unless you're like Nike, doesn't do a good enough job of communicating your commitment to the product. Like, these big enterprise companies, of course, you see Lysol, you see all these other brands. Of course, you connect with that. But most of the small to medium-sized businesses, the mark is not communicating the value. The mark is just the business name, and so there's always a person or persons behind that entity. And so to use video to get people to step into your world, service companies, for example, that is the best format for video. That's a big category of people that we serve, service-related companies. If you put the owner or the operator on a video, and then that person shows up at the door, there's a lot of women that are very hesitant about hiring service-related companies. The plumber, the electrician, the fixer-up guy. Put that person in a video, and then when that person answers the phone at the office, now you've already established a bond with that person. That's the power of video. Like people knew when I was doing these green tips with the carpet cleaning business and all this stuff, people already knew how I was when they opened the door, they go, "Hi, Les. I never met him before." I said, "Hi, Les." Or I'll take another example of like overcoming price. Like people get stuck selling on price, and sell the solution to the problem, not the price, because people care less about the price. They have a problem they're wanting to solve. And if you can communicate in a video that you're solving that problem for someone, then you built that instant credibility. There's no reason for them to look to anyone else, because you've already established that you can solve that unique problem.
Do you sit down and have that conversation with potential clients? Is that the conversation you have?
Most clients have a pretty good idea. Most of my buyers are like chief marketing officers, so they've already done some of that legwork. They come in knowing exactly what they want. But most of the small to medium-sized businesses, they need a strategic guide, and that's where my 15 years of digital content creation comes in. Hey, I understand the customer journey. I know where they start, and I know where you want them to end up. You want them to end up in your inbox, and so what can we do to curate an experience to drive that traffic for you to obtain not just a customer, but your ideal customer. And that's a big thing too. It's like, use the content to help qualify the client before they call. So
you're only going to have the people calling that you want to call.
Yeah. Because I'll never forget, there was a pivotal moment where I just said, "Hey, do not call me if you're looking for the $99 deal, because I will not risk your health. I will not risk your investment. I will not risk all these things for $99. So if you want the cheap deal, go ahead and call the guy on the TV screen. It's not going to be me." And that was the best thing I ever did for that business, was establish that point. It's like, hey, we're not the cheapest because I can't afford to be the cheapest, because your reputation, your product, your property, your health, your well-being is not worth me in a marketing ploy, using a marketing ploy or a bait and switch tactic or something like that.
Are you worried about the world of AI now?
AI is an evolving space. I am not scared of AI. In fact, we use AI in our business and to speed up workflow. So I'm looking at it from a complement, a supplement, not an overall replacement for anything in our creative process, but a supplement to it. So for example, let's take let's say we have a client's website. It's full of content about the service that they offer. It's publicly available content. So I'll use ChatGPT or something like that. I'll use that material and help it summarize all that material and output, say, interview questions. And sometimes those are the most amazing interview questions for a video that we would have spent all day figuring it out, and we got it done in 30 minutes. And so we're using it as a tool to speed up our workflow, which ultimately provides better value to our clients. Does it replace content? No. It helps improve content. So
let me push back a little bit on this.
Yeah.
So then why did Tyler Perry just stop the development of his $500 million studio in Atlanta?
Okay. So I don't know Tyler. I can't stand Tyler Perry. Okay. So I don't follow Tyler Perry. Yep. So I wouldn't know about all that.
Why can't you stand him?
Tyler Perry. I'm gonna leave it
We
there.
can't talk about it.
I just can't stand his comedy. I think it's poor. I just think it's bad acting. Anyways, so
the message is you can make a lot of money from being poor.
well, I just don't like his style, man.
So let's get over the point of not liking him.
I think,
but the reality, he did just stop.
Well, Hollywood went on strike because of AI. I mean, that was the main driver, because literally these creative studios, if you look up like Stargate Studios, for example, amazing company, fabulous technology, just unbelievable. They do these LED walls. They do these, they shoot plates where they get, the guy goes like Tokyo and he sets up like these cool 3 or 4 cameras and shoots this immersive thing just for the virtual worlds. They're using a lot of the Unreal Engine and stuff like that. But Stargate was most notable for their Walking Dead. And so a lot of the Walking Dead zombies, they were already AI. It was already computer generated. Those weren't all actors in the field as the guys were walking. Originally they were, but they evolved into computer generated zombies walking in the space. So that it's been going on for a while, but now it has been catapulted to the forefront. And so now AI is replacing entire characters inside of it. So that was one of the big reasons why Hollywood went on strike, is because once you capture someone's image, then you could duplicate that image over and over and over again. And so that is a problem, And so those types of things I don't really deal with, even though the short, quick, like onboarding videos, I'll probably never shoot another onboarding video, because it's easy to just go to AI. You can get a voiceover, you can, get animated text and do all this stuff. So that was another thing that hit my business last year. It was just.
So what's an onboarding video?
Like when you have someone come onto your business and, you want to tell them about, how to sign up with HR and, or it's like basic instructional videos or something like that. You could literally go to an AI platform and have it create the video, and on screen you could write the script and ask the prompt to create this short little video, and bing, bang, boom, it's done in 15 minutes. You don't need to pay me $10,000 to go through a creative process on how to build your instructional videos.
What's that cost them to do now? Is it just the cost of the program?
It's very cheap.
Might be like $50 or something crazy.
Yeah, it's very cheap. Yeah, I can't follow everything. Like I try to keep my nerves calm in this ever-changing space. Is I just focus on our clients. I'm aware, but I'm not jumping in. I don't have shiny object syndrome. I'm not chasing every new thing that pops up, because eventually it'll kind of bust. And then people realize AI isn't as smart as what they thought it was, first of all. So you can't solely rely on it. There's always a human element to it. But those small little quick turn videos, I'll probably never touch again. But we can't replace, well, I shouldn't say that. You have Sora coming out now. And I guess eventually you could literally film the CEO once and record his voice. And then if you need him to do an address, you'll be able to just prompt AI to do an address from the CEO, and you're not going to be able to tell the difference. That concerns me quite a bit. But I think organic storytelling, you can't have AI do organic storytelling. Like, you can't get testimonials, interviews, and raw content from AI.
The passion that comes from this conversation here today.
Yeah, you can't replace that. So storytelling will always be there. And live event production stuff will always be there, like virtual and hybrid content will always be there. So that stuff isn't going to go away.
So you brought up LED walls.
Yeah.
So an LED wall or a green screen?
Oh, well, luckily these LED volumes are popping up everywhere. Tim, oh my gosh. Diamond View Studios was the name of his first business. Then it's just View. He just got a major investment from a global IT company to spread these LED studios all over the place. So he has 2 in Florida, 1 in Green Bay, 1 in Nashville, 1 in the UK, and then they're building more. And so I said, well, I was going to try to jump on this bandwagon, seek an investor, build this $1 million space. And I said, well, forget that. There's already people building it. I should be the guy just producing it. And so we just put together a proposal for a smaller studio in Columbus, It could do medium shots, so basically torso and up, basically, or maybe knee to top of head, and something like that. And you know, so client had this vision of a superhero HVAC saving the day. It was HVAC technician saving the day, and I said, "There's no way in hell we're gonna be able to produce that type of look unless we had the LED screen. There's no way to create this fanciful environment unless we put them in a digital space." And so that's creating a whole new layer of opportunity. There's a lot of AI associated with some of that Unreal Engine stuff. That's, again, another space I don't care to open my brain into or understand. Let me just help produce the content or walk the client through the creative process, because there's going to be plenty of service providers out there with these walls and stuff like that. And, that was a $50,000 proposal for a 1-day shoot, and so if you had to create all those scenes in multiple locations, it would have been $150,000. There's no way. And so I hope to hear back from that person, because I really want a good use case on an LED virtual set. So,
is it the same with green screen? You have a studio that I saw that you can change the lighting. There's some up lights and stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
yes.
So speak to that.
So we have a studio. It's 1,000 square foot. It was a black box, but in October of 22, I built white walls, because every time a client came in, we had to envision what the scenic looked like. What did the shot look like? And I said, well, let me just simplify this. We put in some faux wood flooring, and I built, 10-foot high white walls. And so we just used some cool diffused lighting to put talking heads on camera and stuff like that. But, we do use a green screen. We use a 10-foot by 8-foot stretch fabric screen, and we can put someone, if you're going to do like a news program or maybe an e-learning thing or something like that, we can do the virtual content. We can actually key it live. So when you're in the studio, you can see what you look like in the virtual space while you're producing the content. And so we've done some cool stuff like that.
So are the LED walls just the next iteration of that? Is that really what it is? I mean, I know you're able to create full scenes. I mean, looking at these LED walls in studios, it's incredible.
Yeah.
They're enormous.
They're massive.
Right?
Yeah.
But is it the same idea? It's about putting yourself in an environment. Isn't that what green screens did?
Yeah. And so there's multiple layers to that. You have the screen, but then you have the worlds. Like when I say worlds, you're creating just like a video game. And so Unreal Engine creates this background or whatever, and then they have trackers. And so the studio that I'm considering hiring for this project actually has one of those Cinebolt pieces where it can zoom in, and so there's trackers on the bolt, and so when the camera moves, it gives that dynamic movement behind the subject, because if it just stayed the same, it wouldn't give this actual effect that you were in that space. And so they have trackers on these cameras that follow the camera. So it adjusts the scene behind the subject as the camera moves. And so that's kind of there's lots of cool technology there.
That's neat.
You got a big crew operating all that stuff.
Yeah.
Which
and
is,
they're $1 million studios like you talked about.
Oh yeah. They can be a lot more than that. Yeah. I mean, like a Cinebot is $250,000 just for the silly robot to hold the camera. I mean, and that's not the LED screens. New screens are very expensive. They're the smaller the pixel pitch, the more cost of these things, so they're putting these big, and they call it kinetic lighting. They put the lighting over top of the screen. And so like scenes inside cars will never be shot on the road again.
I've seen, they're awesome, man. I saw videos of the production of cars in front of the LED walls. Yeah. And then I saw the final production and I went, it's like they're driving.
You can't tell. You cannot tell. Now there's people, they can create that scenic in the Unreal Engine or in AI or whatever, but there's also people going out and shooting those plates. Okay. So like a train scene, for example, someone at, say, Stargate, he would go out and attach a camera to the window and film the train going down through the scenic mountain. If you want to replicate exact scenery for a specific film, the movie houses will go out and shoot a plate, capture the content just for the LED screen in the virtual studio.
So is the lighting above, is that doing the same thing that the camera does? So the lighting's changing as it needs
so
to?
They call it kinetic lighting. So it adjusts as like something's passing by the window. It'll just move the LEDs. It'll color change depending on what's going on in the scene. And so there's a lighting director and designer that comes up with all that stuff. They test all that stuff before you get filming. And
who learns to be the tech people operating that? How do you learn that?
A lot of it is you start as like an intern or you're, because it's an evolving space, like a lot of people do go to school. They go to school for the graphics and the filmmaking and stuff like that. And so a lot of people graduate a 4-year degree. I did not. I had no idea. I just grabbed a camera and got to work. I had no idea what the hell I was doing, but
isn't that the best way though? Doesn't it seem
it's
like
a
the best
longer way. I'm 42. But you're right. I wouldn't have been such a disruptor in the space if I just fell into the same box as everybody else. And so it was a differentiator for me because I didn't follow the same path as others. And so, but yeah, most people will start out, they will be an apprentice. They will start out as a production assistant. They'll get to look and see, and their mentors will help them, just like John did for me. He was a mentor to the apprentice,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's mostly how people start.
So what are you excited about in 2024?
Well, I think I'm still dealing with some business obstacles right now. I'm still coming out of this, I believe, this valley, out of this post-pandemic space. We are evolving the business a little bit more, restructuring our offerings and stuff like that. So outside of that, I think the future is bright for digital content creation. I think companies that have invested into it, they always need to reinvest. There's a point where, the 2 or 3 year old video needs to be redone. I think a lot of companies had spent in that space in the last 3 to 5 years. And so, there'll be a time when that wave comes back. And so we just got to be patient. I'm working on an amazing campaign right now. I'm blessed with some awesome clients, but Home City Ice is celebrating their 100th year anniversary. And so we've been a strategic piece of their marketing communications. As another pandemic client for virtual stuff, but we've become really a part or an arm of many departments inside that organization. It's really just an amazing company. It started 100 years ago in what was Home City, Ohio, now Sailor Park. The Home City Feed and Coal, and then the settlers bought it in 1924. And so now they're celebrating their 100 years. And so I've been tasked with another marketing agency, Joe Formal. She's just fabulous to work with. We partnered on helping to tell their story in a digital and then a tangible way. So she's producing all the print materials and coffee tables and stuff like that. But we're in the middle of the 100-year anniversary video, which is going to broadcast all the employees on April 24th. And so that's a fairly exciting project for us. Just because we feel such a great connection to the organization, great people, great leadership, great culture, and a hometown kind of thing. And so that's a project that we're looking forward to I wouldn't call it like a capstone, but at least showing that off bragging a little bit.
A little bit more depth, right?
Yeah.
Is that what it feels like? Like you're going deeper into the story of the
instead
company?
of this quick turn thing, it's more of we'd become ingrained into their operation in some degree and just getting to know people. And so those are the relationships we cherish the most, is like when we are highly valued as part of their team.
Feels good, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. We work with many companies like that where we're an extension of one department. And, but that's a project that I'm looking forward towards completing. And so we're in video number 2 for them, and then we'll be wrapping up a year in review for next April. So I'll kind of be filming incrementally the rest of the year, just their people, their things and activities and stuff like that. So that's kind of a fun project that we're looking forward to.
You said they're great culture.
Yeah.
When you say that, it's a feeling that you have from spending with the folks and feeling what's that mean to you?
Well, we just relate. I think and I always share this even with them, as I'm trying to interview the CEO or the president or they're one team. Their theme is one family, and it's the most accurate representation of their organization. They're multi-state. They have locations in Cape Canaveral. They distribute ice to Publix in Cape Canaveral, to the middle of nowhere, Kansas, all the way to, New York and Maryland. So they have grown quite a bit in the last even 5-6 years. They have acquired a lot of ice businesses, but one thing is for sure, when the season hits, there's not a single executive, a single person that isn't focused on delivering that ice. And I mean, getting out and sweating with the rest of the team. They do not. No one is far superior than the other, and that is absolutely true. When you see the CEO driving a semi, moving ice, running pallet lift trucks and all that stuff, it's amazing to me. Like that is what a company is about: supporting each other, one team, one goal. And they've done an excellent job of curating that. They wouldn't be to the level of success that they are in if they didn't instill that amongst their employees. There's no way that they could traverse the geography the way that they have if they didn't have that type of mentality and that culture ingrained. So I share a lot of those similar values. Like if there's a problem, I don't blame my editor. It's not a single person to blame. And when there's a win, it's all of us. It's not just me or just them. It is a culmination. And so I think that we share a lot of that mentality. And so you tend to work with people you relate to. So
at least you feel the best about it versus just taking the money.
Yeah. Money has never been the driving force for me. We need money to be profitable in our business, but it's never been the motivator. The motivator is, how can we curate an experience or content that has the greatest impact? How can we change hearts, change minds through these narratives or through these creative pieces of content? How can we create a lasting impact for people? And that is the driving force. It's not about the revenue,
So we talked about LED walls and you sent out that proposal. So you're excited about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you really want to do that you haven't done yet?
Well, I kind of feel like I'm on this line. Like I'm constantly walking this line. Like we're very successful. I'm very proud of what we've done. I feel great success in the accomplishments and things that we do. There's no questioning that. But I think it's time for the next step. As I'm 42 in June, I'm thinking about my purpose in life, and I'm ready for that next step. And so I think a major broadcast, if I've already broadcast from my studio to a global audience via Fox News, ABC News, whatever. Okay, well, let's take it a little step further. Let's get into the streaming or broadcast world by producing a broadcast piece of content. I think that's in the near future. I kind of, like I said, I'm always patient, so I'm not pushing it, driving it, because I think the right opportunity will show up at the right time. And
if you do the right work, right?
Yeah, you take care of people, and you do things right, then the opportunity presents itself when it's supposed to. Whenever you're trying to force something, it never works. Yeah.
So you said a broadcast type of work. What's that mean?
Well, I mean, like streaming or syndicated or something like that, like a
show that would show up on Netflix or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah. Yeah. I think more like a PBS style documentary.
Call Ken Burns. Who knows, man? He's the best of the best when that voice comes on in those documentaries.
Yeah.
What makes his documentaries so good? I'm making that statement. I hope I'm not brushing up against another Tyler Perry situation here, right? But I just listened to Ken Burns. He had one about Civil War. He had one about baseball. I listened to those, and something about it, I don't know if they're better. I think they're better.
It's just the way the story is told.
Come on, give me something more than that. Because I said he's going to tell me it's the way the story's told.
Nothing is worse than listening to a program that just is so flat on the narrative. You gotta, even if the visuals are off or whatever, you gotta have people telling good stories. If that's not it, then that's the core of it.
Is it the inflection? Is it so in 1924? Is it the way somebody's saying in 1924?
I think that's just a value. That's just a value add to the production. It's like, one client in particular says, well, we want the Samuel L. Jackson voice, or we want the Mel Gibson or whatever. It's like, well, that's only one part of it. let's get the story right first. Then the voice talent can come after that. But yeah, I think it does play a part of it, but it comes down to the story you're telling and whether or not you can emotionally, just like I'm talking about with corporate video. Can you emotionally connect with someone? Can you make someone feel something, like that pain, that happiness, or that sorrow, or that deep understanding of what the story is about? And when you can do that, then you have a winning combination. Maybe that's what it is.
What's a show that stands out to you? So something that stands out to me that just was so simple was Mr. Rogers. Why? What did that do or hit? Why?
Well, it was welcoming. It was a welcoming, simple to understand. It was a welcoming program. Anyone of any background could watch his show. To me, that's what it was. Won't you be my neighbor? Like he was just that welcoming guy. He brought people together. I think during Mr. Rogers' time, it was a very difficult time for the country. And, you're talking in the 50s, there was a lot of racism and segregation still. And, he was an innovator back then. And so I think that's what really did. He was a good storyteller, but he made everybody feel welcome. And that's a big thing for a lot of folks, is trying to make people feel like they're part of something.
What's one of your favorite shows? Do you have one? You don't spend a lot of time watching things, I bet.
I
You make
don't,
them.
only because that's all I do all day, so I don't. But some of my favorite shows, I really enjoyed Pawn Stars when the old man was still on the show. I just thought he was funnier than all get out. He would just throw one line out there, or try to correct Chumlee from doing something stupid. I always loved that show. Plus, I like to learn. I'm a history buff, so I like to learn that kind of stuff. And then I like Antiques Roadshow, because there's history there. There's an event there. There's something new, or it's a surprise. Wherever there's something where you learn something, but there's a surprise. You'd be shocked that the little watch costs, $150,000, something ridiculous. But I like learning about that kind of stuff. Not like I'm a treasure hunter or anything, but I just found that it was interesting to learn about history of things, because
those two shows seem like, I'm not trying to oversimplify this, but they seem simple to do.
They're not simple. The Pawn Stars that's reality TV. So it's all heavily produced. Those scenes, those things are all made up. That's not off the cuff, run and gun. That's reality television. And so that's a very complicated show to produce. Now, Antiques Roadshow, that's a little more dry. That's a little more, we're going to sit you down. We're going to talk about your product. And I've never been on that production, but it's a little more cut and dry. Pawn Stars is a story to it. Well, let me call this guy. Yeah, I'm going to call this guy. Like he's always available waiting for your call. Can you hang around for a minute? Yeah, he's going to come down, this expert, yeah, the toy guy is just waiting for the Pawn Stars to call, so that kind of stuff is all staged. There's no way that the stars align and the guy wants to wait 4 hours till the guy shows up to talk about his toy. Is
there any show that's worked that hasn't been staged or heavily produced? Is there any show that we've ever watched?
Yeah, Big Brother. Yeah, Big Brother. They got live webcams basically and a bunch of insanity, going on and stuff. And
you don't think they create that insanity?
I think some of it is a little staged, but when you see the webcam up in the corner and there's a bunch of goofiness going around, it's as close as you could to get to a raw situation. Yeah. So very, very rarely is something 100% unscripted, unproduced.
So we got to make sure we give us what we want.
Yeah,
us consumers.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So this is a new world of, YouTube's wild now. What it's allowing people to do themselves. You've been there since 2008. You had your Facebook page and you were making some videos.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You were on the cutting edge. No matter your ability, quality, you were there before
I was communicating to people like, hey, it's time to start doing video before anybody published a single video to Facebook. Nobody, it was a wild, wild west because nobody was ever publishing videos. Now it's all that's happening.
So what do you think about that?
I think it's pretty remarkable. I think it's one thing I don't like is how much the algorithms control the content that you see. So you may not want to consume. There's stuff that gets force fed to me that I'm not interested in. Well, why do you keep sending it to me? Like that's the most annoying part of content right now. It's like, I'm not interested in this subject, but you're forcing it to me anyways. And what is the purpose behind that? Is it to get me to comment in a negative way or a positive way? Or is it meant to distract from something else? Like that's the only thing I don't like is the way the algorithms manage the content for us. If we had better control over what we are consuming, and YouTube allows us to do that, we can subscribe to our favorite fans and followers. And a lot of my friends have been hugely successful on YouTube. Dennis Rohde, prankster up there with Roman Atwood, or whatever his name is, and the crazy Russian hacker, and all these guys. They're very smart business people. And Dennis is a dear friend. And then, but he got out of creating so much content all the time. And then another gentleman, Justin Couch, is a friend and client. He's over here in Bellevue, and he does coin videos, and then he scratches lottery tickets every day. Like he makes a ton of money scratching lottery tickets because people on the internet love watching him scratch lottery tickets. He's like, oh man, I got a winner. Let's see. Oh, $5. It's the worst build up to excitement ever.
Is he creating the same feeling as if you were scratching it, maybe?
Yeah, like he puts the phone right over the lottery ticket, and so you're seeing and there's many other people that do this, but like he does it every day. He spends like $200. He's writing off like all this expense for lottery tickets. I say, are you sure you can write that off? That's crazy. But anyways, he does these live videos of lottery, and people pay him. So it's like, it's the wild, wild west for content. So I try to bring some calm in this storm, because the biggest obstacle I have to bring on a client is nobody knows where to start. They don't understand all the different, they want something or they see something. Sometimes I have clients that have unrealistic expectations because they see something.
I want that.
And they want that, but how do we get there? Well, that is happening by accident. It's not, I can't control that because that's an algorithm. That's the platform deciding to show you that because you have high interest in it. So it's a very difficult thing to get people to understand. So I always try to stay within the basics, create authentic content. Let that be the rule of thumb. And then things will happen organically from there.
But Les, I want a bunch of subscribers and followers.
Well, that's fine if you want to be an influencer. If you're running your business, focus on the small stuff, because you're not going to get, I can't say that. Depends on what kind of business you're in. Could be, if you're selling, if you're Chip Foose or, somebody selling cool cars, you're going to have a lot more followers than someone that's, say, running a service business,
Changing oil.
Yeah. Yeah. But, well,
who knows?
Some of those guys
scratching lottery tickets.
Well, scratching lottery tickets, or, you've got the look, it's like that guy that does, no way, like millions of people, I think he's a Canadian guy or whatever. And he's in his garage. It's the worst video ever. And he goes, what? No way. He's got that funny thing about him, And so people have coined certain things. And my favorite is the crazy Russian hacker. I mean, that guy is hysterical. He goes, okay, today we're going to take this pen and we're going to see how well the pen writes on the paper. And that's what we're going to do today. That's it. That's his video. Or we got this new knife. I want to see how it cuts the paper. That's it. Simple. I got this new plunger. We're looking at this plunger, and he built a house for his mother out of doing silly videos about using a plunger, like unbelievable. The simplest things can sometimes be the greatest. Like you can't predict.
This stuff's tough to predict.
Yeah. You just keep creating content, and, if it hits the right time, the right moment at the right time,
so the message is just to keep going.
That can affect you the other way too. It can be good and it can be bad.
Why would it be bad?
Well, if the content is if your message in the content does not sit well with the internet, it can affect you.
More people have found that out in the past few years, haven't they?
Yeah. Yep. Yep. I'm one of them. I shouldn't tell this story,
did
but
you dip your toes into some politics or something? What happened last?
No. I'm just going to tell this story, and say la vie, let the internet eat it up.
Are you going to get us canceled on YouTube?
No. So let's just say I had a disgruntled ex-employee, and this person should remain unnamed, but this person caused me a lot of trouble, and he was a liar. And so I showed that he was a liar. And in retaliation, he wrote a frivolous review about my business. He tried to get unemployment, and they denied his claim because I proved that he was lying. And so he didn't like that very well. And so he left a ridiculous review on the internet that was a lie. And I emailed him one morning and I said, take it down or I'm going to sue you. And to get legal advice, he went to Reddit, and Reddit had my email address. And so 67,000 Redditors, came after me because he said, can my boss sue me for leaving a bad review? And
they all say no.
And
here it goes.
Unfolded. I had to shut down every digital asset that I had. They were actually reaching through and contacting my clients. They were seeing the work that I was doing and then emailing clients like totally insane. Well, guess what? He got his legal advice. I called my attorney. I said, what in the world can happen here? He said, well, he's got no money. So there's nothing to sue him for because he has nothing. I said, well, you're right there. He goes, but you can do a what do you call it? Restraining order.
Okay.
You do a restraining order. And I said, no, just, maybe let's give it a couple of days. Let's just see what happens. And yep. In 3 days, everything was removed. He took the content down. All this stuff was cleaned up. So it was a few days of living hell, but it just proves even if you're doing the right things, your life can easily be turned upside down thanks to digital content. So it's good to have someone that understands the world that we're living in and can navigate those challenges, what to do in those certain scenarios. And I think that that's a unique offering I have for my clients. But that's one example of how the internet can wreak havoc, so you got to have a good plan or a backup strategy when those things happen.
And sometimes you don't, you just figure it out. All these people want to be an influencer.
Yeah.
What the heck, man?
I am not an influencer. I will never grab the camera every day and do funny videos. It's just not me. I think I don't want to say older people don't have that opportunity anymore because that's not true. Some of the greatest people I like following are older folks and, that kind of stuff, but I don't have the time for it. It's not my passion to be that person. I've experienced with it. a little bit. I had a show called More with Less. And so that's my podcast, and I'm reigniting More with Less, play on words, obviously. It was successful back then. I imagined it was, but I couldn't monetize it, so I'm just struggling. And you will face that. Like a lot of people think you're running a podcast. This takes a lot of time and effort. You have an entire team. You have a lot of invested in the equipment and assets. And then, at the end of the day, you hope that the campaign is going to provide some value to someone. So it's a massive undertaking to be quote unquote an influencer. One of my dear friends, Todd Uterstadt from Founder to CEO, has an amazing podcast. He's interviewed the co-founders of Netflix and, just the amazing people he's had on his show. But it took him many years and lots of hard work to get any type of traction or streaming revenue or anything out of that. I mean, you're talking in the millions and hundreds of millions you need, to start making money off of YouTube videos and Facebook and stuff like that. Just my friend Justin, he creates videos all day long. It's all he does. He wakes up at 7 a.m. and that's all he's doing is pumping out videos, cutting up those lottery videos, doing a new coin video, packing and shipping. He's got a direct order thing going on. So from morning till night, that's all he does all day, every day. It's a absolute hustle and grind every day.
Is that the piece that the influencers don't understand? That, hey, there's a lot of work that has to go into this? Because the concern is that so many of these influencers, it just looks like it's an easy way to make a lot of money.
Well, nothing in life is easy. If you have good looks, sex sells. It's always been that way. It doesn't
But me
matter.
and you don't look like Jason Momoa.
I'm not going to be, I'm not going to be a trending social media star because of my looks. Okay.
I mean, there's some people, we won't name some of the people over time. There's some people that didn't look great to make a lot of money off their looks.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. But anyway, what the hell was I saying before that?
So we were just talking about the influencers. When I asked about, I just said, hey, I think that what they're attracted to is it feels so easy.
Oh yeah, it's easy. Yeah, nothing in life is easy. You can't, there's always a process. You got to start somewhere. Sometimes you'll have viral hits that get you that credibility, and you just build upon that. And so I'll share one example. Mark Bersani owns Loveland Canoe and Kayak in Loveland, Ohio. He made a photo of his guys. They had their shirt off. They had the canoe guy tattoo. And Mark said, look, sales are down, but if we hit this target this year, I'm going to get the canoe guy tattoo like my employees. And so he just put that picture out on Facebook. He called me the next day. He goes, Les, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm trending faster than Justin Bieber. What do I do? And so I said, Mark, you got to follow up with videos. So this was 2016. I showed up in my little handy cam doing this very, poorly produced video, but it worked because it said, hey, everybody, I'm Mark over here at Loveland Canoe and Kayak. And we got this thing going on. We're going to get this. I might get this tattoo, but you got to help. You got to come rent a boat from us if we hit this target. So it turned into this great campaign. We followed up with multiple videos. And I was basically shooting the videos for free. I was like, I'm just having fun. I'm getting used to this. They were kind of some cool videos, like I actually got into a canoe with Joey at the time, and, he was out paddling. He was delivering his lines. He was paddling down the Low Miami, this kind of cool thing. But what happened was Mark was at the gas station. She said, Les, it's unbelievable. People, I'm like a celebrity all of a sudden. Like people are saying, hey, Mark, how's it going? Like, I don't even know who these people are, Les. They're saying hello at the gas station. So he, like I said earlier in the conversation, he built that connection or that relationship with people via video content. People became passionate about the brand. I'm stealing some words from my buddy Dan Krask. The vibe, like your tribe connects with your vibe. Like he got a tribe to connect with this vibe. Like they became they felt like they were part of something. And even back then in 2016, that was the magic of that campaign. And now he's got loyal customers that came out of that Facebook content that have stuck with him today, to this day. I've got clients out of that material. Like I just had a client through last week. He was a direct connection through the canoe guy tattoo campaign, and so that's a cool way to, now that Mark was an influencer, it wasn't, so take away the barrier of how many likes and how many subscribers, because that's nonsense. It's what impact can you have for you or your business, and quit, because you will never catch up with people. You have to set an expectation, set a real low expectation. That way, when you have a win or success, you feel like mission accomplished. If you compare yourself to a Justin Bieber or
everybody wants to be Mr. Beast, man.
Yeah. Yeah. He spends millions of dollars on those videos, millions. And people don't realize he spends a lot of money to make a lot of money. Like, I don't know I'm sure his P&L looks pretty good, but he spends an awful lot of money to be producing those videos. But yeah, Mr. Beast did pretty good.
Pretty good?
Yeah, pretty good. Yeah.
What's pretty good? Is it because he has, I think, is it 100? It's either number 1 or 2 number of
big.
followers on YouTube.
Big. It's big. Yeah, it's a massive enterprise what he's built. I don't forget working on a campaign. The lady, Google said, well, we're not going to help you unless you spend $100,000. We're not going to dedicate anybody to your campaign unless you spend $100,000. It's like you have to get to such degree to unlock these mysteries. But once you get with the right people at the right time, this becomes a lot easier. Is there someone, I don't want to say that Mr. Beast has anybody adjusting the algorithm in his favor, but money opens up opportunity, opens up connections, and you need a little push every once in a while. So building your network or connecting with the right people at the right time, that's really what it is.
the idea of an algorithm. I don't know who I was talking to, but they said the people that created the algorithms don't even understand the algorithms. Does that make sense?
It makes no sense whatsoever. They have to say that, otherwise there would be absolute chaos. I think that's the rule that they have to say. But let's see who's fooling who here. No, I think there's definitely manipulation or control of these algorithms. The last political cycle was proof of that. I mean, you could look at the way content was being delivered, and then all of a sudden it was like a switch. All of a sudden it was no longer the way it was. Like there was infighting amongst people that I've known my entire life. I think it was purposeful. There was a time where I think the serving of content to certain people caused, on Facebook in particular, caused friction. And I think it was done intentionally, because the only reason why I say that is because once the political cycle was over, new president was in, all of a sudden the platform was different. It wasn't that political content disappeared. It was just that the algorithm changed, like how this person served this person, or maybe you no longer see this person's material anymore. So yeah, I'm not any expert in this. I've never worked at I don't work for X or Facebook or nobody else, but it's just common sense. It only takes common sense to think about that these platforms are controlling the content that you see,
But are they giving us what we want to see? That's the argument, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the problem. Is I don't think they to some degree you can curate that experience for yourself, but I think overall there's still a push of content, that maybe they're right. Maybe the AI and maybe these things are starting to take control of this. That's my greatest fear, is that people are no longer making sound decisions, and then the difference, the future will be hey, what is the difference between what is real and what is not real? And there's one guy I love following, the editor at The Atlantic. He does a great video every single day. Oh my gosh, what's his name? After talking, his name has escaped me, but editor of The Atlantic, he does a daily video, the most interesting thing in tech. So he's a great guy to listen to for all the stuff AI related, the scary stuff too, like the $7 trillion ask to build AI chips to support Sora, the video creation tool. I mean, that stuff is pretty alarming. What does the future hold for that stuff? So you need to stay grounded in all this. I don't like to get too far in all those platforms. You need to keep your feet on the ground.
Get down the rabbit hole too much on it.
Yeah, because if it's overwhelming for someone like me, I can't even get my clients to get to that level or understand how it's going to impact their business. I'm aware of it. There's great people spending a lot of time on it locally, but I just prefer to keep blinders on. And the end of the deal is take care of my customers and curate amazing content.
So everything we're talking about today is all about attention.
Yeah, I've always been a fan of it. So, yep.
That's the game. That's the entire thing. My real estate business, because usually it doesn't feel like usually the best always wins. It's the person who gets the most attention that does it. And I'm pushing back on that because you care about doing a great job. Yeah. I do with my real estate business too. Yeah. But the quiet moments I have every day, I see us a lot getting beat by people that I know aren't as good.
Okay. Yep. A similar pain that I have is folks that have access to these platforms that I don't want to say are full of shit, but you can tell, like it's amazing to me that people can open up their phone, share a story or dialogue, and they have no experience in the subject at all, but the world and the internet flocks to them because the way that they presented it. It's not that they are an actual expert in that particular subject. It's just
they were able to grab the attention.
That's exactly what it was. And some people unnamed, some people I'm not going to mention, but they use their assets, their visual appearance. Okay, would you have that many followers if you wore that particular shirt? wore a different shirt or presented yourself differently, I mean,
But is that the game? Even if we don't like it, is that the game?
well, that's just one particular person, but that's one example. Like, people flock to this person because she's beautiful, or is it that she's really a subject matter expert, And so that's what drives me nuts, is people on the internet pretending to be something that they aren't, and then the masses follow them. Like, it's this thing, in that, like, half the stuff they're saying leads people in the wrong direction. That drives me bonkers.
So how are the people that are best in those areas, how do they overcome that? They have to gain attention and tell their story about why, correct?
Well, everybody has different layers of expectation, so just like I was saying earlier, don't gauge your success based on followers or views or numbers. Gauge your success by what's happening in your life. What makes you happy? Like start there. What makes you happy? What makes you the most happy? How does what the effort that you're outputting create a happy life for you, the people around you, your family? And that should be the driving force in what determines whether or not your campaign's working or how much attention you get.
But what about all the days that aren't happy for an entrepreneur? Because they are.
The majority of them, like I always say, that an entrepreneur has every single emotion bottled up at the exact same time. There's never a extended period of happiness. There's never, like, there's always a surprise. Like, we're problem solvers, so.
So you said do what makes you happy, and it's like, wow, so I'm going to do the thing that makes me happy, that makes me most unhappy all the time.
Right? Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right. Well, I'm talking about my clients. They're
not me, not you.
Not me. I'm a special case.
But you're not, because the pain of being an entrepreneur, man, it doesn't matter if it's our businesses or not. The pain of that problem solving and unlocking the necessary tactics to be successful, it's hard, man.
Yeah.
And these moments where we talk about, well, hey, you're going to learn the most from failure.
Yeah.
So we're talking about these ideas that you're not in a happy place at that moment.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, had it not been for failure, I wouldn't have discovered some of the greatest things about me. Had I not totally bullshit my way through having a conversation with, they're going to love me for this, they'll probably never call me again, ABC News, totally bullshit my way through that. I didn't even know what an IFB was at the time.
What is it?
Like, well, that's the little device that goes in your ear. Now I know. It's the on-screen talent. That's how they get the show in their ear. It's typically done over a landline.
Do you know why it's okay for you to tell the story if you bullshit your way through? Because everyone has at some point.
Yeah.
Everyone has.
Again, that was the pivotal moment.
Okay. What's the moment that you kept going? I used to ask these questions, and I don't just have these clear questions coming in. I sit down for a conversation, but I used to ask this question to a lot of people. What's the moment, the most defining moment in your career as an entrepreneur that you had? It's a moment that you had to do whatever it took, no matter what.
Well, that's going to be hard to do, because there's many of those moments in my life. It's hard to pinpoint one, because there's many pivotal moments in this epic journey of mine. So that's really hard to pinpoint one. I like the ABC News story because that has always been, that was a monumental experience. I guess it's the experience, the feeling when I am responsible for the way someone looks or the way that their message is being delivered, that there's no room for a mistake. There's no room for error. That the reputation of that person is on the line. And who are they going to blame? They're going to blame me. There was a time when I couldn't accommodate something. And this person, while the broadcast was successful, they hired someone else after that. And it bothered the hell out of me, because I couldn't accommodate this little particular thing. She was unaware of the complexities of why I could not accommodate. But that was a driver for me too. Never let the experience be affected for the client that I'm serving. Give them a remarkable experience. Do not let their experience be hindered in any way. And that was a big, that pain of feeling that I've lost this client to a competitor of someone that I've known my whole life. Like, this is someone that I went to school with, his mother, like, we know each other's families, and they hired him after this. Even though my experience was good, it wasn't good enough. And so that pissed me off. That was really, that drove me insane. And I said, that is never going to happen again. Anybody that walks into my door, they're going to be treated, they're going to have the most amazing experience from start to finish. The video doesn't matter. Like the editing is important. I value the talents of the people on my team, but it's not the video. It's that relationship, that impact that you have with people in real life. That is the cornerstone. Even the guy, God rest his soul, my mentor in the cleaning business, he passed away last year or a year or two ago. He said, look, it's not about the damn spot in the rug, brother. It's not about the spot in the rug. It's about the way you handle your clients, the way you knock on the door, the way you hand the card, the way you treat them, all that stuff is what they're going to remember. They don't care about the spot in the corner. They care about how you treat them. And so that has always been a mainstay for me. And no matter what the experience has been overall, but serving your clients, it's a big, creating experience that they remember. That's the most sustainable thing you can do, no matter what business you're in.
What's the question that less should be asked that people don't know to ask?
Would you come and work for me, Les? Like, would you give it all up, and would you let me hire you? Would you come on board with us, Les? And I was ready to give all this stuff up. Like, I was just burnt out, tired, done. I was just burnt out. And so I considered this job, and it was for a global company. And I got through 3 interviews, and this is before the pandemic, 2018 or something. And I got to the CEO, and I was 10 minutes away from this call. And this was going to be $150,000 a year, more money than I would have ever made at the time, and full benefit package. So I think the benefits would have been another $30,000 or something like that. Company travel, and just, anyways, very lucrative offer. And, I'm thinking about, I'm the broke video guy, and so the pain was getting me to consider a different option. The pain of being an entrepreneur or starting a business, running a business, that pain I was trying to eliminate the pain. Well, no, I was only going to create more pain, because being an entrepreneur is who I am. I cannot go work for somebody else, clock in and clock out. It would be torture to my heart and soul if that was my other option. Because it's not possible. I've been living this way for 15 years, so I can't go clock in and clock out just because I want to feel better. That's not the right reason, because I have a greater calling, greater purpose. So so being self-employed and doing things on my own schedule.
So the question is, Les, have you ever considered taking a job and leaving this entrepreneur world? And that's what you would have shared that moment.
Yeah. There's no way. Another gentleman phrased it up as a client, great friend. I even approached him. I said, well, you need a salesperson. Let me be that salesperson. That's my thing. I can sell stuff. And he said, Les, I will never hire you. He goes, I will never be able to take the passion you have for being an entrepreneur out of you. And he said, I would feel bad myself knowing that I was slowing you down in some way just because you're a good salesman. Yeah, I would benefit from that financially. And so would you. But I would know that I was stopping you from pursuing, what your passions are. And so that, those are a couple times where just, help me reiterate, just be patient. Whatever the pain is you're going through, it's temporary, because the great opportunity or the new stage is right around the corner. The next level is just waiting. It's just right around. Even when you think you're up against the wall, nope. I've always been taken care of. There's not a single time in the last 15 years that I haven't sustained what we've done. And that's thankful to God and thankful to our clients that we serve.
So as we wrap up here, what do you do what happens when someone tells Les what to do? How's that go?
I've learned because I'm a service company, so people always tell me what to do. So that's an easy one for me. Even when my team, it's hard to tell the boss to do something, I don't get it very often, but when it comes along, I don't react. I just say, you know what? That's what we got to do to get it done. Not a problem. I'm always the guy taking the trash out. I do not let my employees empty the trash. I'm always that guy. I don't pay for it. I take it out as a privilege. I am the trash taker out guy, because you know what? I value what you do more so than taking out the damn trash, so I try to prevent people telling me what to do. But when a client tells me what to do, hey, it's not because I screwed up. It's just because they're trying to get to the end of the goal, and so sometimes I got to bite my lip, suck it up, and move on.
So is that if I was in your shoes and a customer told me that I take out the trash and I don't let my people take it out, I mean, that's content right there.
Yeah.
That describes the culture of the business.
Yeah. Well, even when they attempt to take it out, I say, no, I'll take that out, because I don't want them to ever feel like that's their task. Another great client of mine, she left a job and she said, I'm tired of cleaning the coffee mugs less. I don't want to clean the dishes here anymore. I'm tired of being that person. I value my contributions, much more than I'm not the dishwasher. It's time to go. So that set in with me. I said, well, my employees aren't going to be trash keepers, because if the employee's struggling with something, and then I said, hey, don't forget to take out the trash. Oh, I would make that day even worse. Let me just throw on going to the dumpster on top of that.
So this lady that you're talking about, she wanted to move on from her job because she was tired of.
She was undervalued.
Yeah. So here's a message there. So I understand it. The funny thing is that person that thinks that they get to leave being an employee.
Yeah.
Because they're undervalued, and they have this idea that they're going to go be an entrepreneur and start the business.
Yeah.
The thing that they're not wanting to do is going to be the thing they're going to have to do.
Mm-hmm. No, you're right. Yep. We have to do everything. There's not a single task that business owners or entrepreneurs don't have to do
for a very long time.
Yeah. And even when you're established, I had a great employee that filled many roles. And when he left a gaping hole in my organization. And then I had to carry that burden of all those responsibilities. So that's a struggle, having talent and filling in all those roles. But yeah, you got to do everything.
Do you think you took that person for granted unintentionally?
No. I was just letting that person explore their creative, explore what they want to do. And then I was just providing access to what they wanted. And so when they decided that that's not what they wanted anymore, there were a lot of things to do. And then I realized the next person in the creative world can't fill all their shoes. It's a process. So someone may have a lot more talents than the other, and you can't just automatically fulfill that void by recruiting another. Even though those new people are incredibly talented, they're talented in other areas. So we could talk about recruiting in another podcast.
Well, here's what I will ask this. I'll ask this because we're getting about 2 hours in, and you're a busy guy, and your hours are worth money.
That's right.
So I appreciate you coming in. does me making a statement of saying the it factor when someone has the it factor?
The it factor, like
When you're
they're
like, man, they've got it.
irreplaceable. They're irreplaceable. Like, is that what
Well,
you're
I don't
saying?
know. Just when you look at a person and you're like, man, they've got it. When you see a performance,
God,
when you
okay,
see when
got
you
it.
it's whether it's an employee, whether it's a performer, and you're like, man, they've got it.
Well, I've learned that to consider our team as one unit. No longer am I assigning, like, everybody deserves a title and stuff like that, but I'm not assigning prestigious titles to anyone anymore. We are one team, you know. That way that person does not become emboldened, you know, like, because if you build that ego up too strong too quick, then they feel powerful. And then when they realize they go to another job or they go somewhere else, their title, they're not prepared. You know, like, that title may have been a premature title because I valued them in a certain particular role. That doesn't mean that they were prepared for that in their next role. And so I've been more, and that was a poor choice on my behalf, because I didn't do a good enough job of preparing that person or this person or that person for the particular role. And so I've been more cautious about saying that person's it, or they got it, you know, because there's a lot to learn, you know, like you said in the beginning of the podcast, 10 years to be over, takes
Overnight
10 years to be an
success.
overnight success, you know? And so I can't expect to hire someone for 1 or 2 years and they be that success. You know, there's very talented people that I work with, and that's great. But, you know, I've learned to be cautious about what role or what title I'm assigning folks, because out of respect to them in their next stage, you know, you got to be careful.
All right, so what's the project at Valere Studios, an event and video production? What's the project what's your, like, Super Bowl project? What is it?
That we're working on.
No, that you want to. What's the dream? What's the vision that if you get to do this?
Oh my God. Well, that's so hard because we've already done amazing things. So it's hard. It's hard to see what's next. Like, I'm going to brag a little bit. I had no idea I had such a talent as an event producer. You know, like, it is like, I guess when you go back to high school, you're doing on-stage performances. Well, now you're into the event space. I've always produced event videos around events. It's either this content for the screens, the marketing of so that's one big category in our business is event video content. And so because it's a space that I'm familiar with, I got in a few years. And then if I think about my business, the studio, even all the virtual stuff was events. It was replacing on-stage events. And so I began producing these events. And so I was technical directing. I was conceiving of the show, working with the client to work on the run of show. What does it look like? What is the experience like? And then I have a great client, Joe Condit. We grew up together, and he's a very successful businessman, but he brought back a Catholic program, the men's conference, back to Cincinnati National Men's Conference. And so I've been working with Joe and re-engineering and redeveloping this program. And so we went from Fifth Third, and last year we did Cintas Center. It was the most amazing onstage performance. We had Jonathan Rumi, we had the Archduke of Austria, you know, just this amazing. We had Ted Karras, we had, you know, and so I produced the technical aspect, the lighting, the sound, great partners, lighting, sound, worked with the technical team at Cintas, technical directed all this elaborate stuff. And at the end of that, I said, holy cow, I had this experience. I wasn't even thinking of myself this way. I'm over here, the video guy. No. Like, and so more recently, I've been doing more of this. And so that's been the core of all these things in the studios, like I said, event production. So I just went to Phoenix in January for an internationally traded company, and I produced the entire onstage event. The AV quote was originally like a couple $100,000. So I saved these guys a ton of money. I saved them money because the guy selling the AV was just taking advantage of the client. And, you know, like there was no bells and whistles in there for $200,000. It was totally insane. I said, well, there's not even a moving light fixture in this proposal. like the sound isn't adequate. And so all of a sudden I have this uncanny ability to take a look at that, manage the project, advise the client, improve the experience, save the money, and then just amazing the experience of the people in person. We had what was a Hall of Famer, the Atlanta Braves guy,
The pitcher.
yeah, what was his name? John Smoltz.
Okay.
He was on stage at this event. And then I traveled to Toronto because the same company was doing a virtual broadcast inside a 5-star hotel in the financial district in Toronto. And so here I am. I'm smack dab right in the heart of it again, producing the whole thing. There's a pipe and drape. There's a technical. There's the cameras. It's just amazing. It's like an uncanny ability that I have to oversee that kind of stuff. So I think as the future evolves, those in-person events, whether it's virtual, hybrid, in-person, I'll be continuing to expand into that space because I have this, again, disrupting.
You know where that comes from? You care about doing a really good job, man.
Thanks. Yeah.
That's what you just described.
Yeah. Well, it's taking care of the client. I get when some guy puts a line item on a invoice for $7,000 for 4 computer monitors, I have to email the guy and say, I think you put this in wrong. I think there's a problem here.
Because you can buy the thing for $180 bucks a piece.
$400. I go over to Best Buy, and you're charging the client $7,000. This is exactly why you did not win a 6-figure contract. And so that's the kind of stuff that's going on out. That's what I can't stand. If these people thought about the client and put their experience first, the money
takes care of itself.
Yeah, the money doesn't matter. If you're focused on the money and not the experience, then you're going to lose. You got to think about serving the client first, create an awesome experience, and they don't care the difference between 10, 15, 20, 30, 50, $100,000. It's because you're creating the right experience to help their organization grow, expand, gain the exposure, whatever it is, and so I have that gift, and I'm so blessed to have amazing clients like that are seeing me in that particular way. So I hope that even though I'm losing studio and virtual work, that I'll continue to expand in this consulting event production world.
Here, man, you're gonna always win. No, I've been around. I've been now operating businesses for going on 20 years.
Yeah.
And the thing that you just described, whether you're an employee, a subcontractor, the entrepreneur that owns the business, if you take that approach on whatever your thing is, if you don't quit, you will win.
Yeah. It's going back to that thing I said, you got to have patience. Patience
with
is a virtue.
With massive urgency though, right? So that's the patience for the outcome while taking massive action.
Yeah. You gotta act, but then also be patient, not lose your mind in between the whole thing.
They're calling you again. Hey man, this is awesome. I think what I love about these conversations the most, selfishly for me, is I just sit across from people that are very passionate about their thing.
Yeah.
And if business owners out here, or then people who want to be business owners, if they just take this approach and put it on their thing they want to do, they're going to win.
Yeah.
And winning isn't the number in the bank account, but what I know is if you win and you keep going and you win enough and you serve people the way that you were talking about serving them, the money will take care of itself. You'll have more money than you dreamed about. You won't have to take the $150,000 a year job, and you'll wake up excited about life. You'll go to bed with an empty tank because you'll be exhausted, but you're going to find satisfying moments throughout every day.
That's right. You're 100% correct.
Yeah. Congrats, man.
Well,
I know.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man.
It's been great. I appreciate the platform. It's nice to be able to share my story, and hopefully we've inspired some folks.
You will. And I don't know, but you may have inspired them to like, oh shit, man, that sounds too tough. Yeah, well, if these things that you're talking about and so many people have sat here and talked about, if that seems too tough, just don't even start.
Yeah.
Because I promise it's going to be that and more.
Oh, yeah.
Because you haven't shared today the toughest, darkest moments.
No.
See, and that's so. If today sounds
there
tough,
are lots of those.
Yeah. So if today sounds tough, it's like, guys, he touched on 10 or 15% of the toughness.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks for being who you are, man. I know.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks for having me.
people that work with you and your customers, there is no doubt that they're benefited.
Oh yeah, we have great clients, great relationships. So
Go buy some Home City Ice.
Truly blessed. I'm telling you, I'm the only goofball taking selfies in the middle of ice cabinets out in the, well, you know, whether it's Cocoa Beach or or Kansas, in a Walmart in Kansas. I'm in there taking selfies with the ice merchandise.
But you're even passionate about the product now. That's what's wild.
Yeah. They're it's a great business and great family and great folks.
They'll tell everybody about all your social stuff. What's the best way, if people have made it to the end of the podcast, the best way to interact with you?
Well, that's Valere Studios, valerestudios.com, VALERE studios with an S.com.
And go find out everything about you.
Sure.
And how to hand you tens of thousands of dollars to make
yeah,
them
that'd
smile.
be nice. Yeah. Yeah. I accept all major credit cards. No problem.
Make sure the balance is big.
Yes. Yeah. No worries.
Thanks, man.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.